The Man with the Azure Eyes, Part 1, The Arrival. The misty veil of autumn draped itself over the small, quaint town of Eldridge, shrouding it in a delicate curtain of fog and chill. The town, nestled between rolling hills and ancient forests, had long been accustomed to the slow pace of life. It was a place where news travelled at the speed of gossip, and strangers were met with a blend of curiosity and suspicion. On this particular day, the steady drizzle seemed to add a touch of melancholy to the landscape. The streets glistened under the grey sky, and the leaves, painted in shades of gold and crimson, rustled softly in the breeze. The townsfolk, huddled in their coats and scarves, went about their daily routines with a sense of quiet resignation. It was amidst this atmospheric tableau that Jacob Halloway arrived. He appeared as though conjured from the mist itself, emerging from the veiled distance with a deliberate, measured stride. His arrival was marked not by the clatter of a carriage or the bustle of a grand entrance, but by the soft patter of his footsteps on the cobblestones. Jacob was a tall, lean man in his mid-30s, his presence both striking and subdued. His long, dark coat flapped slightly with each step, and his wide-brimmed hat cast a shadow over his sharp, angular features. But it was his eyes that captivated those who happened to glimpse him. They were an unsettling shade of blue, vivid and intense, almost otherworldly in their depth. The eyes seemed to pierce through the gloom, reflecting an inner luminescence that set him apart from the ordinary. As Jacob approached the Eldridge Inn, the townsfolk who were gathered outside the general store exchanged glances. Whispers of speculation fluttered through the air like the leaves at their feet. A stranger in such weather, with such an unsettling aura, was a rarity in their close-knit community. Inside the inn, the warm light of the hearth cast a comforting glow. The innkeeper, a burly man named Tom, was polishing a brass bell behind the counter when Jacob pushed open the door. The small bell tinkled softly, announcing the arrival of the newcomer. "Good afternoon, sir," Tom greeted with a hospitable smile, though his eyes betrayed a hint of wariness. "How can I help you today?" Jacob's gaze swept across the room before settling on the innkeeper. "I need a room for the foreseeable future," he said, his voice low and calm. "A quiet room, if you have one." Tom's curiosity was piqued. "Certainly. We have a small room available on the top floor. It's a bit out of the way, but it's quiet." Jacob nodded. "That will do nicely." Tom led him to the top floor, where the room was indeed quiet, almost too quiet. It was furnished modestly with a narrow bed, a simple wooden desk, and a window that overlooked the misty landscape. The room had a certain air of desolation, but Jacob seemed at ease with it. He placed his satchel on the desk and gave the room a once-over before turning to Tom. "This will be fine," Jacob said. "How much do I owe you?" Tom named a modest sum, and Jacob paid without hesitation. As Tom left him to his solitude, Jacob unpacked his belongings with methodical precision. The satchel contained a variety of items, a collection of old manuscripts, a set of meticulous notes, and several leather-bound volumes that looked as if they had travelled through time. Jacob's purpose in Eldridge was not immediately clear, but his actions spoke of an intent that was far from casual. He began by setting up a makeshift study on the desk, arranging his manuscripts and notes in an order that suggested a deep and intricate process. He spent his days at the town's library, which had been closed to the public for decades. The library was a large, old building with shelves that reached the ceiling in a musty smell of forgotten knowledge. Jacob was granted access through a local historian, Clara Evans, who was both intrigued and somewhat puzzled by his request. The library's dusty volumes held secrets of an age long past, and Jacob's meticulous work began to reveal the contours of an obscure alchemical practice that had been lost to history. As Jacob delved deeper into his research, the townspeople's curiosity about him grew. They observed him from a distance, noting his peculiar habits and the aura of mystery that surrounded him. Some believed he was a scholar on a quest for forgotten knowledge. Others whispered that he might be a wanderer with a hidden agenda. Despite their speculations, Jacob remained an enigma. The rainy days turned into a soft drizzle as autumn progressed, and Jacob's presence in Eldridge became an ever-present subject of conversation. His silent demeanour, intense focus, and the strange allure of his blue eyes made him a figure of fascination. Eldridge, though accustomed to its routine pace, found itself subtly transformed by the arrival of the man with the Azure Eyes. Part 2. The Manuscripts. The quietude of Eldridge was interrupted only by the steady fall of rain, drumming against the windows of the old library. Within its ancient walls, Jacob Halloway continued his relentless pursuit of the alchemical secrets he had come to unearth. His days were consumed by the library's dimly lit rooms, filled with the heavy scent of aging paper and ink. Jacob's workspace was an eclectic assortment of books, notes, and peculiar artifacts. The narrow desk was now covered with yellowed manuscripts, some bound in leather with ornate gold leaf, others hastily scribbled on scraps of parchment. The room, bathed in the soft, diffused light from a single window, felt like a cocoon of historical whispers and forgotten dreams. Jacob had taken to referring to the manuscripts by their visible condition, the weathered Codex Arcanum, the cryptic Grimoire of Shadows, and the enigmatic Liber Tenebris. Among these, the Codex Arcanum was the most intriguing. Its cover was adorned with mysterious symbols, and the pages within were a labyrinth of intricate diagrams and arcane scripts. It seemed to hold the key to understanding an ancient alchemical process that Jacob was eager to decode. His notes on the manuscript sprawled across multiple sheets of paper, connecting dots between alchemical symbols, celestial alignments, and obscure historical references. Jacob's exploration of these texts was meticulous. Each manuscript required careful handling, as the age of the documents had rendered them fragile and prone to disintegration. He used soft gloves and a magnifying glass, his fingers moving deftly across the ancient text, deciphering the faded ink with an intensity that bordered on reverence. One particular passage from the Codex Arcanum captivated Jacob. It spoke of an elusive substance called the elixir of eternity, said to grant profound wisdom and possibly eternal life. The text was filled with cryptic instructions that suggested the elixir could be synthesized from rare ingredients, some of which were known only in legends. Jacob's efforts were not without challenges. He often encountered passages that were almost indecipherable due to the deterioration of the paper or the cryptic nature of the symbols. The difficulty was compounded by the fact that many of the alchemical terms and procedures were no longer in use, requiring Jacob to reconstruct their meanings from fragmented historical records. Clara Evans, the town's historian and librarian, observed Jacob's progress with a mix of admiration and concern. She was fascinated by his dedication, but also puzzled by the esoteric nature of his research. One afternoon, as Jacob pored over a particularly elusive section of the Grimoire of Shadows, Clara ventured into the library's main hall where Jacob was taking a brief respite. "I've been watching you work," Clara said, her voice carrying a note of cautious curiosity. "It seems you're on the verge of something extraordinary. But what is it you hope to find?" Jacob looked up, his eyes reflecting both weariness and a glimmer of excitement. "The manuscripts speak of an ancient alchemical process. I believe there may be something of great significance here, something that could change our understanding of the past." Clara nodded, though her expression remained skeptical. Eldridge has always been a place where stories and legends intermingle, but few people come seeking truth in such a tangible form. You're uncovering something that might be more than just old myths. Jacob's gaze returned to his work, the intensity of his focus suggesting that he was on the precipice of a major breakthrough. Days turned into weeks, and Jacob's routine became increasingly absorbed by his research. The library became his sanctuary, a place where time seemed to stand still as he navigated the labyrinth of ancient knowledge. The weather outside mirrored Jacob's inner world. The rain became a constant companion, its rhythmic patter a backdrop to the silence of his solitary study. The town's interest in Jacob grew as his reclusive nature became more pronounced. Whispers about his work circulated among the townsfolk, each person adding their own interpretation to the growing mystery. Despite the growing intrigue surrounding him, Jacob remained focused on his research. His dedication was evident in the meticulous notes he took and the care with which he handled the manuscripts. Each breakthrough, no matter how small, was met with a sense of triumph. The connections he was uncovering between the ancient texts began to reveal a coherent narrative, one that hinted at the profound nature of the alchemical process he was striving to understand. One evening, as the rain poured steadily outside and the wind howled through the narrow streets of Eldridge, Jacob experienced a moment of revelation. After hours of deciphering a particularly cryptic passage, he discovered what seemed to be a formula for the elixir of eternity. The manuscript described an intricate process involving rare ingredients, precise timing, and celestial alignments. Jacob's heart raced as he transcribed the formula into his notebook. The formula was a complex blend of alchemical symbols, astronomical calculations, and chemical reactions. It suggested that the elixir required a unique set of ingredients, some of which were described only in vague terms. The final ingredient, however, was mentioned with surprising clarity, a rare flower known as the lunar orchid, which was said to bloom only once every century under a full moon. The discovery was both exhilarating and daunting. Jacob knew that the lunar orchid was a legendary plant, rumoured to exist only in the most remote and mystical locations. Finding it would be a monumental task, but the potential reward was too significant to ignore. As he closed his notebook and prepared to leave the library for the evening, Jacob felt a surge of anticipation. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he was driven by the promise of uncovering something that had eluded seekers for centuries. The town of Eldridge had become a mere backdrop to his quest, and he was prepared to venture beyond its borders in search of the elusive lunar orchid. In the quiet of the library, Jacob's thoughts were filled with the possibilities that lay ahead. The manuscripts had revealed a path, and he was determined to follow it, no matter where it might lead. Part 3. The Ritual. As Jacob Holloway stood on the edge of Eldridge, the town's quaint charm seemed a distant memory. He had left behind the comforting confines of the library, now on a quest that stretched beyond the familiar streets. The elusive lunar orchid was his goal, and the path to it was as mysterious as the flower itself. The ancient alchemical formula had provided him with more than just directions. It had set the stage for a ritual that promised to unravel secrets long buried in the annals of time. The journey took Jacob through rugged terrain and dense forests, each step filled with anticipation and trepidation. The landscape shifted from rolling hills to ancient woodlands, where the gnarled trees seemed to whisper secrets of their own. The full moon, now a constant companion in the night sky, guided him forward with its silvery light. After days of arduous travel, Jacob reached the outskirts of a forgotten valley, a place whispered of in legends but seldom seen by modern eyes. The valley was encased in a mystical aura, its very air thick with a sense of history and reverence. Jacob set up camp at the edge of the valley, preparing for the final leg of his journey. The full moon was just days away, and the lunar orchid was rumoured to bloom only under its light. Jacob's camp was modest. A simple tent, a few provisions, and his ever-present notebook filled with alchemical formulas and sketches of the lunar orchid. The tent's dim interior was illuminated by the soft glow of a lantern, casting flickering shadows on the walls. Jacob's focus was unwavering as he reviewed the manuscript's instructions, the words coming to life in his mind. The ritual was complex and required precise timing, a meticulous arrangement of ingredients, and a deep understanding of the celestial influences at play. As the night of the full moon approached, Jacob's anticipation grew. He had gathered the necessary ingredients for the ritual, each one carefully chosen and prepared. Among them was a rare substance called moonstone essence, a shimmering liquid that had been a challenge to procure. The essence was said to hold the power of the moon, essential for the success of the ritual. On the night of the full moon, Jacob prepared for the ritual with a mixture of reverence and anxiety. The valley, bathed in the moon's ethereal light, seemed to come alive with a gentle hum of energy. The trees swayed rhythmically as if they were part of an ancient symphony. Jacob laid out the ritual's components in a carefully arranged circle on the ground, candles, symbols drawn in chalk, and the rare ingredients. The ritual began with Jacob lighting the candles, their flames dancing in the night air, casting flickering patterns on the valley floor. The symbols he had drawn in chalk glowed faintly under the moonlight, their shapes intertwined in a sacred geometry. Jacob took a deep breath, his heart pounding with both excitement and trepidation. The air was charged with a palpable sense of anticipation. He began by reciting the incantations from the Codex Arcanum, his voice steady and clear. The ancient words seemed to resonate with the environment, their vibrations mingling with the whisper of the wind and the rustle of the leaves. Each incantation was followed by a specific action, a sprinkle of moonstone essence, a careful placement of ingredients, and a series of gestures designed to align with the celestial forces. As Jacob performed each step of the ritual, he felt an increasing connection to the ancient alchemists who had once conducted similar ceremonies. The valley seemed to respond to his efforts, its energy building in intensity with each passing moment. The full moon, high in the sky, cast a luminous glow over the scene, its light reflecting off the moonstone essence and creating an almost otherworldly radiance. The final stage of the ritual involved the preparation of the elixir of eternity. Jacob carefully combined the ingredients, following the precise instructions laid out in the manuscripts. The mixture began to bubble and shimmer, its colour shifting as if it were alive. Jacob's hands trembled slightly as he poured the elixir into a small vial, his mind racing with the implications of his success. With the elixir completed, Jacob felt a profound sense of accomplishment. He had followed the ritual to the letter and, according to the manuscripts, had achieved the culmination of his quest. But as the night wore on, Jacob's sense of triumph was tinged with an uneasy feeling. The valley, once vibrant with energy, now seemed to hold a deep, unsettling silence. The ancient forces he had sought to harness appeared to be retreating, leaving him with a sense of emptiness. He decided to spend the night in the valley, hoping that the morning would bring clarity and perhaps a sign of the elixir's effects. As he lay in his tent, the quiet of the valley pressed in around him. The moonlight filtered through the fabric of the tent, casting pale patterns on the ground. Jacob's thoughts were a tumult of anticipation and doubt. Had he truly succeeded, or had he merely performed an elaborate ceremony without the promised results? In the early hours of the morning, as the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, Jacob awoke with a start. He felt a strange sensation, a mixture of exhilaration and unease. He emerged from the tent, the valley bathed in the soft golden light of the new day. The ritual circle was still in place, the candles now burnt out, their wax forming intricate patterns on the ground. Jacob examined the vial containing the elixir of eternity. It glowed faintly in the morning light, its contents appearing to shimmer with a subtle, otherworldly light. He felt a surge of excitement. Perhaps the elixir was everything the manuscripts had promised. But as he prepared to leave the valley and return to Eldridge, he couldn't shake the feeling that the true impact of the ritual had yet to reveal itself. The journey back to Eldridge was filled with introspection. Jacob's mind was consumed by the possibilities and implications of what he had achieved. The elixir, while a tangible result of his efforts, was only a part of the larger mystery. The valley had been a place of ancient power, and he couldn't help but wonder what other secrets it might hold. Jacob returned to Eldridge with a renewed sense of purpose. The ritual had been completed, but the quest for understanding was far from over. The elixir of eternity was now in his possession, and with it came the promise of knowledge and insight. As he resumed his work at the library, Jacob was acutely aware that the journey was far from finished. The manuscripts had guided him to this point, but the true significance of his discovery and the extent of its impact remained to be seen. In the quiet of his study, Jacob looked at the vial with a mixture of hope and apprehension. The ritual had been a profound experience, and he knew that its full effects would only become clear with time. For now he was content to have completed the ritual and to hold the elixir of eternity in his hands. The future was uncertain, but Jacob was prepared to face it with the knowledge and courage that had brought him this far. Part 4. The Revelation. Jacob Halloway returned to Eldridge with the elixir of eternity securely tucked away in his study. The small vial, glowing faintly with an ethereal light, was both a tangible symbol of his journey and a harbinger of the mysteries yet to unfold. The ritual had been performed, but Jacob knew that the true test lay in understanding the implications of his discovery and the power of the elixir he had so meticulously crafted. The days following his return were filled with a mixture of anticipation and routine. Jacob resumed his work at the library, where he continued to research and catalogue ancient texts, though his mind was often preoccupied with the elixir of eternity. Each evening, as he sat in his study surrounded by books and manuscripts, he couldn't help but ponder the secrets the elixir might reveal. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned a deep indigo, Jacob decided it was time to conduct a thorough examination of the elixir. The manuscript's instructions had been clear about the importance of timing and environment. The elixir was to be studied under the light of the full moon, which would amplify its effects and reveal its true nature. He prepared his study for the examination. The room was dimly lit, with only a single lamp casting a warm glow over his workbench. On the desk lay the vial, its contents shimmering with a subtle, otherworldly light. Jacob placed the vial on a velvet cloth, the deep blue fabric enhancing the elixir's glow. The full moon hung high in the sky, its silvery light filtering through the window and casting a gentle illumination over the study. Jacob carefully removed the vial stopper and poured a small amount of the elixir into a crystal vial. As the liquid touched the glass, it began to emit a soft, radiant light that filled the room with a serene luminescence. Jacob observed the elixir with a sense of awe and wonder. Its effects were immediate and profound. The air in the room seemed to vibrate with an almost palpable energy, and Jacob felt a deep sense of connection to the ancient alchemists who had once sought the same knowledge. He placed the crystal vial under the full moon's light, allowing it to absorb the celestial energy. As he watched, The elixir began to change. The light within it intensified, shifting from a gentle glow to a brilliant pulsating radiance. The room was bathed in a soft, otherworldly light, and Jacob felt as if he were on the cusp of a great revelation. With the elixir exposed to the moonlight, Jacob began to experience a series of visions. They were fleeting and fragmented, but each one seemed to offer a glimpse into a deeper understanding of the universe and the nature of existence. The visions were vivid and surreal, presenting images of ancient landscapes, celestial bodies, and enigmatic symbols. Jacob saw scenes of alchemical rituals, long-forgotten ceremonies, and glimpses of a hidden world that lay just beyond the veil of reality. As the visions unfolded, Jacob was struck by the realization that the elixir of eternity was not merely a potion, but a conduit to a higher realm of knowledge. It was as if the elixir had unlocked a hidden dimension, allowing him to perceive truths that had been obscured by time and space. The experience was both exhilarating and disorienting, leaving Jacob with a profound sense of awe and humility. In the midst of the visions, Jacob saw a figure, a robed and majestic being who seemed to embody the essence of wisdom and enlightenment. The figure spoke in a voice that resonated with ancient power and clarity. "You have sought the truth with courage and determination," the being said. "The elixir of eternity has revealed to you the hidden paths of knowledge. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. The secrets you have uncovered must be used wisely." The figure's words echoed in Jacob's mind, leaving a lasting impression. As the visions began to fade and the light of the elixir dimmed, Jacob felt a deep sense of peace and understanding. The revelation had been profound, but it also came with a sense of duty. The knowledge he had gained was a gift, but it was also a responsibility to be handled with care and respect. Jacob spent the remainder of the night reflecting on the experience. The study, now illuminated only by the soft glow of the lamp, seemed quieter and more serene. The elixir of eternity, though no longer glowing with the same intensity, remained a powerful symbol of his journey and the wisdom he had attained. In the days that followed, Jacob grappled with the implications of what he had learned. He knew that the revelation was just the beginning of a new chapter in his life. The knowledge and insights he had gained from the elixir opened up new avenues of exploration and inquiry. He was eager to share his findings with others, but he also understood the importance of approaching this new knowledge with caution and respect. Jacob decided to keep the elixir of eternity in a secure location, preserving its power and mystery for future exploration. He continued his work at the library, but with a renewed sense of purpose. His research now included a deeper exploration of the alchemical texts and mystical traditions that had guided him on his journey. The revelation had changed Jacob's perspective on life and knowledge. He understood that the quest for truth was an ongoing journey, one that required both dedication and humility. The elixir of eternity had offered him a glimpse into the mysteries of existence, but it was up to him to navigate the path forward with wisdom and integrity. As he looked out at the world from his study window, Jacob felt a profound connection to the vast tapestry of life and knowledge. The elixir of eternity had unlocked a door to a greater understanding, and Jacob was ready to explore its depths and share its wonders with those who were prepared to listen and learn. The journey was far from over, and Jacob embraced the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead with a sense of purpose and anticipation. Part V. The Legacy. Years passed, and Eldridge saw the seasons turn in their cyclical dance of renewal and decay. Jacob Halloway, now an elder statesman of scholarly pursuits, continued his work with a quiet dignity. The elixir of eternity, safely ensconced in a hidden chamber within his study, had become a legend among the few who knew of its existence. Its discovery had ignited a quiet revolution in alchemical and mystical studies, shaping Jacob's legacy in ways he could scarcely have imagined. The library, once a quaint repository of forgotten knowledge, had transformed under Jacob's guidance into a renowned institution of learning. Scholars from far and wide came to study its collections, drawn by the reputation Jacob had built and the promise of uncovering hidden truths. His lectures, now imbued with a deep wisdom and a touch of the mystic, captivated audiences and inspired new generations of seekers. As he aged, Jacob's focus shifted from his own research to the mentorship of promising young scholars. He had become a sage-like figure, guiding eager minds with a gentle hand and a discerning eye. His home was a place of reflection and discovery, where discussions about the nature of existence, the secrets of the cosmos, and the mystical paths of ancient alchemy flourished. One crisp autumn afternoon, as golden leaves danced in the wind, Jacob sat in his study, surrounded by the familiar comfort of old tomes and artifacts. The elixir of eternity, now a revered symbol of his life's work, had been preserved in a special display case, its light dimmed but still holding a whisper of the mysteries it had once revealed. Jacob knew that its time had come to pass beyond his own stewardship. His thoughts were interrupted by a gentle knock on the door. It was Eleanor, a bright and inquisitive young scholar whom Jacob had mentored for years. She was like a daughter to him, embodying the curiosity and dedication that he had once held so dearly. "Jacob, I have something for you," she said, her voice tinged with excitement. She held a leather-bound manuscript, its cover embossed with intricate designs. "It's a compilation of your teachings and research, meticulously compiled by a group of us who are touched by your wisdom. We want it to be a testament to your life's work." Jacob accepted the manuscript with a profound sense of gratitude. He thumbed through its pages, each filled with notes, diagrams and reflections inspired by his own research. The manuscript was a tribute to his legacy, a tangible representation of the knowledge he had imparted and the lives he had touched. Eleanor continued, "We also wanted to create a new tradition. Starting this year, we will hold an annual symposium in your honor, dedicated to exploring the mysteries you have unveiled and continuing the pursuit of knowledge. It will be a place where scholars can gather, share insights, and push the boundaries of what we know." Jacob's eyes misted with emotion. He had always believed that knowledge was a flame that should be passed on, lighting the way for others. Now, as he looked at the manuscript and listened to Eleanor's words, he felt that his work had come full circle. The legacy he had hoped to create was taking shape, extending beyond his own lifetime and inspiring others to seek, explore and understand. That evening, as the full moon rose high in the sky, Jacob stood by the window of his study, gazing out at the quiet town of Eldridge. The light of the moon reminded him of the nights he had spent studying the elixir of eternity, the revelations it had brought and the path it had set him upon. He knew that his time was drawing near, but he was at peace with the knowledge that his legacy would endure. Jacob Halloway's final days were marked by a sense of fulfillment. Surrounded by his books, his protégés, and the enduring impact of his work, he embraced the end with a serene acceptance. His passing was a quiet affair, attended by those who had been touched by his wisdom and kindness. The library and the symposium continued to thrive, honouring his memory and perpetuating his quest for understanding. In the years that followed, Jacob's influence became a beacon for seekers of truth. The manuscript Eleanor had compiled was celebrated as a cornerstone of modern alchemical studies, and the annual symposium grew into a prestigious event that drew scholars from around the world. The elixir of eternity, now a revered artifact, remained a symbol of the profound mysteries Jacob had explored and the legacy he had left behind. Jacob Halloway's life and work became a testament to the enduring power of curiosity, wisdom, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. His legacy lived on in the hearts and minds of those he had inspired, a reminder that the quest for truth is a journey without end, one that continues to illuminate the path for future generations.